Marley Choice here. Thank you so much for joining me again for another session of Choice Spirit. Here I want to talk about, you know how we love to say about toxic relationships. We talk about toxic relationships. But somewhere when we begin to talk about toxic relationships, we this means what? So it means we're pointing to something outside of ourselves and calling it toxic. Think about this. I see so much information talking about toxic relationships. Anything that's going on the inside is projected. And so what you get is a reflection of what you are projecting. So if there's any toxicity going on there, we might need to self-check. What we do when we point to a toxic relationship is we're not taking responsibility for what we are bringing to the table, which is everything. Because it comes through us. It comes through us. So, in other words, whatever you're seeing that needs to be worked on within someone else that is causing a disruption or conflict within your relationship, it's really the internal stuff that's going on with yourself. But yeah, we have internal and external signals and vibes, but those vibes and signals cannot exist without you. Anything that you are witnessing cannot exist without you. So let's go a little more into this. If we are calling something toxic, what is toxic? What is it? Is it that the person is mistreating you? Disrespecting you by talking to you in a certain way or treating you in a certain way or ignoring you? Is it that you feel that they're not bringing enough into the relationship? That they should be more giving, more loving, more compassionate, more affectionate, more sensual, more sexual? What is it that you are calling toxic? They used to say, I heard it said that you cannot see what you are not. You cannot see in someone else what you don't possess yourself. We know already that all aspects of archetypes and possibilities and characteristics, let's say characteristics, are available to us. We can choose to take on different characteristics. Though our position here, our coordinates here, our point of view here may be according to a certain archetype, but within that archetype we can take on certain characteristics, meaning we can take on being selfish, we can take on being hateful, we can take on being joyful, we can take on any aspect of within that frequency band, within that realm. We can choose for ourselves. With that said, there is a soul within us that is guiding and directing us, that is a part of some of the things and most all that we do, of course. Otherwise, the energy of that flows through us. And based on our belief system and conditioning and everything else, we draw that likeness into our life. So when we think in terms of calling something toxic, where do we begin to look to change that or to alter that, not looking at someone else trying to change them, trying to flip them according to our will and get them to be what we need them to be in order to be happy. No, 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 no. Not that way. We have to work on ourselves because we've heard it said once you change, your environment will change. The people around you will change. Either if they cannot change, they will be removed from your life, and something that is more in alignment with what you are or becoming will show up when you are kind of more centered. So it's just a quick word on what it is that we call toxic and how we happen to look outside of ourselves and point fingers at what's toxic and not stop to think about how we contribute to this, how we have called this forth into our lives for the experience. It's only an aspect of ourselves. We are dealing with an aspect of ourselves, of something that we call forth to have a moment with, to show us something about ourselves and to share in that moment, to learn something, to grow from it in wisdom, to evolve in it, to transcend it, to do whatever. Remember, for you, all of you are into chakras and all of that stuff. The part of you that is down in the sexual area of your chakra, in the beginning stages of your chakra system, which is down between your groin, your pelvis, your gut, all the way down there, you know. Most of us are operating out of that area. So of course, whatever comes into our life, we're going to see it as toxic. Those of us who sees it otherwise knows that you are rising in consciousness. You're coming up out of that space, out of the root chakra space, and you're traveling up and up and up until eventually you get to the heart center space. So once you get to the heart center space, you no longer see it as toxic. What happens is you begin to attract something other than that. And anything that appears to be toxic, your shift, the way that you see things, has transcended. So you will come to know that that is only something that you've called for to have an experience with, to grow through, to evolve through, to learn through, if you will, and transcend. It's temporary. It's a transient time and moment, if you will. So that you can move to the, I don't want to say levels, but so that you can shift to the next level. As you rise in consciousness, as you shift in consciousness, you come up out of the root chakra. And you come into other areas. And as you begin to work through those various areas, you transcend it, and you come up, and you come up, and eventually you get to a place to where you are usually bringing your mind, your mental into and your emotional come together as one. So I speak of that sacred heart space. And then there's a knowingness when you see people coming. Actually, they're not even on your band. You know, the chances of you getting involved in someone that is not there is highly unlikely. So, unless you're going through a real low time, because we all hit that bottom. And depending on where we are vibrationally, some of us, we vibe on high most of the time. So we know how to pull ourselves back up fairly quickly. But some of us that vibe on low most of the time, they only manage to get part way, a little relief. and then they go back low again. They go back low again. But those who are somewhat centered, mid-range, they'll bounce from low back up mid-range, have moments of highs, come back mid-range, moments of low, come back mid-range, and that kind of way. So anyway, quick word. I'll go into this again. I'll do another video on this, and go do another video, go a little more deeper, a little more in depth, I should say, and yeah, check yourself. Because if there's anything toxic, it's time to do a self-check. Much love. Thank you so much for joining me again for another session with Choice. Namaste.